Welcome all to Anatomy and Physiology 1. This is section 26641, and the course code is Bio 101. This is a hybrid course where the lecture portion is going to be done through me, through the online area, Blackboard, which I'll explain to you. And the lab portion will be taken with the lab professor on Saturdays from 8 o'clock in the morning to 2 o'clock in the afternoon, 6 hours. My name is Dr. Gamaro. I'll be teaching you the lecture portion of this 7-week accelerated course. So let's get started with this. So this is me. Again, welcome to A&P. Let me switch over to the real me. So just hold on a second. Let me stop sharing. And there I am with my two buddies over here. Okay, so I wanted to welcome you to Anatomy and Physiology 1. You'll know it as A&P 1, and then of course, if you're going to be going further into this, which I would imagine most of you are, you'll go into A&P 2. You're only going to get a portion of the story over here. Want to tell you a little bit about myself. My name is Dr. Gamaro. I was born and raised in New Jersey, more about North area, and then I moved. Maybe I was like 8 or 9 years old. Went to Sussex County, graduated high school in that area there, Walk Hill Valley Regional High School. Then I went to Ohio University, where I did my undergrad, got my bachelor's of science in zoology pre-med. Then after that, I went to medical school, went into medical school down the Caribbean island of Grenada. Did 4 years there. The first 2 years is bookwork stuff, just the stuff you've been doing around here, where you're just sitting down in a classroom, listening to the teacher. And then the last 2 years is after you learn about anatomy and physiology and microbiology and pathophysiology and all those wonderful courses. Then the last 2 years is what we call as the clinical years, where we're actually in the hospitals and we're working with patients from everything that we learned from the first 2 years. What I did was the first 2 years of St. George's University School of Medicine, which was in Grenada. The first 2 years is down there in the Caribbean. The last 2 years I was in England. And that's where I bridged my love of medicine and traveling together. And I was in England doing my clinical years with all the hospitals there. They have a different training over there than would be in America, where they spend a lot more time on physical diagnosis as opposed to a lot of tests. So they kind of honed in on honed in on palpations and listening to the heart and listening to other parts of the body, and doing those kinds of things, looking for certain signs. So I did all that. Saw socialized medicine, realized it won't work in America, but that's another talk for another time. And then I came back to the States, and that's when I went into residency of obstetrics and gynecology. I did that, delivered 3,000 babies. After that, I lost track. And then also I was having a little bit of problems with my knee. I had to get some knee surgery. My mother had a stroke. She's much better now. She's driving and she's the usual nut as she usually is. But yeah, so I wanted to take care of those personal things and stop my education per se. But during that time when I was doing that, patient care was also changing, where doctors not spending that much time with the patient, that they're relying on other people to do physical diagnosis, to do assessments and whatnot. And then the doctor is getting everything else, all that information, and then making a diagnosis and a treatment plan with that. And only spending like 5 or 10 minutes with a patient, where it wasn't what I signed up for when I wanted to get into medicine at the beginning of my educational career. And what I saw as a patient with my own doctor is that the doctor usually spends about 20, 25 minutes with you. Things were changing and just didn't like where it was going. So I said, what else could I do in my medical degree? Someone mentioned teaching. 15 years later, I'm still doing it and loving it. I do see through all my medical career, I worked with everybody in terms of the professionalism, and I worked with nurses, of course, radiologists, occupational therapists, physical therapists, and so forth. I worked with a lot of different people and know the things that they need to know. And I try to incorporate that knowledge of my experience with them. And you'll see in the way I teach is to, yes, there is memorization, no doubt. There's memorization going to be with anatomy and physiology, but you're going to see with my test questions and the way my teaching style is, I'm also more concerned about applying the material. Memorization is there. I get it. You do have to memorize certain things. I just can't, the bone, the humerus, which is the upper arm, the bone in the upper arm. Yeah, there's like 11 parts of the bone. You got to memorize those. I get it. But the physiology, make sure when we go through it that you are understanding how to apply the material. The best way that I could show you how to apply it is that I got to throw in diseases. I think diseases are, for the most part, going to give you a reason to, or a significance of what the normal stuff is. Why do you need to know the normal stuff? Because it's these diseases. I think it's very important that you see that. So that's a little bit about where I am, and physically where I am is in Boston, Massachusetts. How did I get here? Where I am over here? Why did I do this? I actually was a part of a CCM for a number of years, I think from 2007 to 2016. And I was a part-time teacher over there, doing anatomy. I teach mostly anatomy and physiology. I also teach in other colleges. I also teach pathophysiology, which is diseases, microbiology, biology, medical terminology, and the list can go on. But it's more geared towards the biological sciences. Especially, I try to hone in and make a bridge between the biological sciences and medicine. So how did I get up here? Well, basically, in a nutshell, I got married. Got married to my wife, who was born and raised in Boston. So it was easier for me to relocate than she was. So I'm actually teaching at some of the colleges in Massachusetts, but also remotely. When the pandemic happened, I called up CCM, some of the administrators over there, my bosses from the old time. And during the pandemic, I said, things have changed. Would you want me to teach your students again? They remember how I taught, and absolutely, they embraced me with open arms. And since 2021, can I say 2021? I guess that's what we would say. I've been teaching remotely from there, doing mostly anatomy and physiology, doing the online things. So I've been teaching for the past couple of years now, doing remote just for CCM. And I have taught the hybrid, of course, where I'm going to be going partners with a different lab teacher. So I do know Professor Savori. She's going to be your lab professor for these FAST 7 weeks. Her and I, we spoke together through Zoom, and it's going to be good. All right, it's just going to be very, very fast. Just keep that in mind. And that's pretty much about me. I'm trying to think. I think that's all I want. I do get to New Jersey, not as often as I like, but usually about once every month or two. My family is still in Sussex County, so I still have a place to sleep, and I get the New Jersey pizza, which I've always want, because in Boston they don't make pizza like they do over there. It's only a 5-hour trip, so using the Bluetooth and the with the cell phone, the time goes by really fast. So I do get to New Jersey often. So that's a little bit about myself. And I would imagine that most of you are going into the medical realm. Most students taking anatomy and physiology are going to be students who are going to be nursing. I do get students who are going to be physical therapists, and maybe they're majoring exercise physiology. or exercise science. I think that's what CCM calls it. I get the physical therapist. I get the radiologists, so to say, who help with the I guess radiotherapy. So we do that. I have the occupational therapist. I get the dental hygienist. I get the pre-med students, and so forth. So it's geared for those kinds of students. I know there may be a student or two that may be taking this course as a non-science major. Maybe you're going into math, or you're going into business and you got to take a science with a lab. I just want to say, beware of this course. This is not going to be a light and fluffy course. Even without without it being accelerated 7 weeks. This is, like I said, if you need to know the arm bone up here, the humerus, there's 11 parts to it. If you are taking this course because you want to know a little bit about anatomy and physiology, my suggestion is not to take this, because you're only going to get half the story, actually less than half the story, because you really need to take A&P 2 to understand the whole body and how it works. So my suggestion is to transfer out of this course and see if you could have an opening in a course called Human Biology. Human Biology is very geared down to students who just want to have an idea of how the body works. We're just going to call this a humerus and call it a day. We're going to call this the skull and not worry about the 35 parts of the skull. So they go right to that, and you'll get the full story in one semester. So if you are taking this course and you're not specifically going into the medical realm, my suggestion is to transfer and see if you get into that human biology course. It's going to be much more conducive for you and a less strainful. However, if you're going into the medical realm, this is the course for you. Okay, so without further ado, I just want to go right into the syllabus. So what I want to do with you is this. My suggestion is to print out the syllabus. It is 32 pages long. Yes, very long. We're going to go through it all. The first 12 pages, the first 10 pages is going to be what we refer to as the departmental portion of the syllabus. The departmental portion is really everything that goes for all the basic, I guess, the umbrella of all the rules. You're going to need to read that on your own, okay? It's pretty straightforward. It is important to know. But starting on page 11, now this is not colored. This is not, I printed this out on a black and white thing, but you'll see a yellow box up here, okay? This is where it's going to be more specific to the way I'm going to teach, the curriculum that I'm going to teach, throwing in a few things from above. But everything from above, like grade Y, what's the grade, the grades that CCM has, what's considered an A, what's considered a B minus, and so forth. That's all departmental stuff. We know all that, but I'm going to talk about more specifically about the exams, what the exams are going to entail, what discussion boards are, and so forth in my section. That's a longer section. Okay. And again, I'm only going to be talking about the lecture portion. The lab portion, you need to speak to your lab professor. Hopefully they'll open up a Blackboard. She'll open up Blackboard and she'll have the syllabus in there prior to the first day that you're going to meet up with her, and you could read that. But this is only going to be for the lecture portion. Okay. The other thing I want you to print out, and I want you to print this out before we go over this whole video on the syllabus discussion. You can follow along. The other thing I want you to print out is something called the course calendar. Now, I do have that printed out for you, right, in color. So what that is this, and it's beautiful. Most students really want to use this throughout the whole course. The first 3 pages are going to be something that looks like calendars format. Okay, and I highlight in color-coded stuff about when things open, when things close, meaning like when they're due. Also, if there's anything important, like when is the last day to withdraw, certain holidays and so forth, you could see that this is March. The third page will be March. Spring break is over here. We are going to finish the week before spring break. That's like 7 weeks. Really, it's like 7.5 weeks because we're starting on a Wednesday and we're ending on a Wednesday. But yeah, so just to give you a heads up. So this really will show you everything that's going on when things are due, when things open and so forth. The fourth page is also going to be a good checklist, okay? The checklist is explaining to you now, the first column here is just having, is it done? Put a little check there saying that it's done, okay? The next one is when things open, when things close or when they're due. This is the actual assessment, whether it's lecture quiz number 1, lecture quiz number 2, lecture exam number 1, discussion board number 1, and so forth. That's what's listed here. And then on this last column, it tells you what it encompasses. What is it about? What should you be studying about? And this is what it's going to be dealing with. Okay. I have it in the order of when things are due, not the order that it was open. I think it's more important about when things are due. Okay, so that's what this order is over here, and you could put a checkbox next to when you complete something for yourself. Okay, so this is also very good. The last page is some miscellaneous kind of dates on when things like a withdrawal date and so forth. You could read that on your own, but I'll be talking about this material within the PowerPoint that I'm going to do for this syllabus discussion. Okay, so again, my suggestion is to print out the course syllabus, which is 32 pages. We are going to start on page 11 with my syllabus discussion. Okay, and you can follow along here. I'll be referring to certain pages. And also print out the course calendar, which is 5 pages. The first 3 pages are going to be a calendar format and when things are opening and when they're due. We're not going to change that, so you could use that as your guide throughout this next 7 or so weeks. Okay. All right, so that's a little bit about what you need to do. So let's go right into the my discussion about the syllabus. So I'm going to switch over to here. Okay. Okay. So again, this is me. Welcome to A&P. All right. So again, this is a hybrid course. The lecture is taught by me, and it's online, it's remote. What this means is that there is no required times for you to actually be to sit down with me. There is no required time that we will have class together, is what I'm saying. You're going to do everything at your house or at your home, wherever you're going to be doing this, and you just got to follow when things are due. I will be sending you a lot of emails throughout the weeks just to gauge you, to make sure you should be where you are, where you should be, where you are. So pay attention to those emails. Okay. Everything will be on Blackboard. That's what we use for CCM. All the testing, all my communication will be through that. If we need to do a Zoom session, if you request a Zoom session, I have no problems doing that. We could set up a time where we could do that, and I'll give you a Zoom invitation, and we'll meet that way. No problem at all. Okay, so again, there's no face-to-face meetings scheduled at all. Okay, but we can do Zoom meetings if you request, but that's totally optional. Okay. The lab is taught by Professor Savori, okay, and that will be in person on campus on Saturdays. The first Saturday will be January 21st, and you'll meet up with her, okay? All the testing for lab will be done in person on campus with her, okay? Now, there is going to be an entering survey, a questionnaire that I want you to complete. It's just better to acquaint me of your background, okay? You're not the live student, so you don't have to worry about that. But as an online student, it's located in the syllabus folder of Blackboard. I'll show you where that is. You're going to download it type in all your answers. It's really easy and fast. It's questions about what other courses are you taking, what's your telephone number, what do you want me to refer you to as, if your name's John, do you want to be known as Jack, that kind of thing. Complete it, then you're going to save it, and then you're going to email it to me and try to do this on day number 1. Okay. Day number 1 is when the Blackboard opens up. Unfortunately, with CCM, they don't open it until day 1. Okay. The course description. So again, this is a part 1 of a 2-part series. Okay. It's a manual about yourself. If you get a car stereo, the first thing you want to do is, what are all the features? How do you do all the features? So you want to get that manual. Same thing here. I mean, why is it that, my color, my skin is different than her color of skin? Why is it that I have this freckle? Why is it that I have to move my bowels after 10 minutes of eating breakfast? And if I'm not in an opportune moment to go to the bathroom, it goes away. That feeling goes away for another 10 hours until I get home. All of these kinds of things, it's learning about your body and learning how what the parts of the body are and how they work together, and just a manual about yourself. And then when things go wrong, you could understand, well, if there's an infection that goes into the lungs and the lungs are supposed to do this, now it's congested. I'm not going to be able to breathe and get that oxygen onto my red blood cells, which means I'm going to be weaker. So it's going to be step by step. And the only way for you to really understand why the normal stuff is important, again, I got to throw in certain diseases, and that makes it more fun, especially if you're going into the medical field. And this is what you would want, right? You want to connect the anatomy and physiology with stuff that you're going to learn about later on. And then in the bigger scheme of things, well, it's going to help you later on, because, like, you know what? I learned about that disease a little bit in A&P, and now I'm in nursing. It makes a little bit more sense. So you're going to build on that. I don't go into the details of the diseases. I just kind of show you, if you heard about multiple sclerosis, that's what's affecting here. The insulin around the nerve cells gets eaten away. Now you understand why that insulation is important on that nerve, because you can look at someone who has multiple sclerosis and they have the dizziness or they have the blurred vision and so forth, because the nerves are not working well. So that's how I kind of introduce you to a few diseases. So keep in mind that this is a manual about yourself, and always keep in mind, this is not a 15-week course, or in our case, it's a 7-week course. You need to know the full thing. So what I'm saying is that you need to understand A&P1 and A&P2. So if you took it in a normal 15-week course or 15-week semester, you really need to take 2 semesters of this material to really understand anatomy and physiology, which also emphasizes the fact that you need to remember the stuff from A&P1. Okay. Yeah. Okay. It's highly condensed. If taken in the summer, as you know, because it's 7 weeks, it is highly condensed. And it's an online course, so it makes it a little bit more challenging because you have to there's no one really verbally telling you where to do things, but I will be sending emails. You'll feel as though I'm a part of the course with the number of emails that I'm sending you. Okay. Let alone the video lectures of me lecturing. You'll hear my voice over and over, and some students have said, yeah, I've been hearing them in their sleep, or while they're sleeping. It's like, it's just, they hear too much of me. So but yeah, you'll feel as though you are getting the professor is not someone that is not going to be a part of you taking this course. I will be there. Okay. So A&P1, the course that we're doing now, is broken down into really 2 sections. The first third is going to be more of the foundation or the basics of anatomy and physiology as a whole. That includes anatomical terms that you're going to need to know for the rest of A&P and the rest of your medical career. Chemistry, cytology, how the cell works, a little bit of genetics, and histology. When cells are put together, now they're called tissues. The study of tissues is something called histology. Then the last 2/3 of the course is really where we're getting into the actual systems, the body systems, where we'll start off with the skin, then we go into the skeletal, the muscular, and then the whopping 5 chapters of your book is going to be the nervous system. Okay. Then we get into A&P2, just something to look forward to. It's more like a bullet train. Not a train wreck, a bullet train, where we go system after system. We assume that you've done all the foundations, that you learned the terminology, that you understand what the chemistry is and histology. And now we're going to we're going to bridge that information with all the rest of the systems. So it just goes one after the other, and so forth. Okay. So that's why I'm saying if you're a student that is a non-science major, you're not going to get any of this. And if you want to learn about the whole body, you're not going to get all this. My suggestion is to take human biology, where they're going to go not as in depth at all compared to this school or this course, but you're going to get an understanding of the major organs and the major functions of those systems. And they usually do 1 system per week. Here, like I said, the nervous system is 5 chapters for us. So we're going to be spending, if it was a 15-week course, you'll be spending about 5 weeks on it. In our course, it's like 2 weeks because it's so accelerated. Okay, because we're taking it as a hybrid course and an online course, the lecture component, you need 4 requirements. Now, some of these are common sense, but I do want to make note of a few other details about it to make sure that you do have the requirement. You do need a digital device, which means that you need a laptop, desktop, or a Chromebook. Having one of those things, you will be able to do everything for this course, okay? What you can't use is smartphones, especially for exams, quizzes, and if your lab is going to be using Mastering A&P, which is a component of the online portion of the book, none of that can be done with smartphones. There's been situations where pictures that were embedded into the exams were not shown, that they were freezing. Using a smartphone freezes the exam, but the clock is still ticking. So do not use the smartphones for exams, quizzes, or so-called Mastering A&P. You can use the smartphones if you're looking at my videos, if you want to download and read a document. Yes, you can use those, okay? So the digital device you need. You need internet access. Again, I understand it's common sense, but make sure you have good Wi-Fi connectivity, especially if you're going to be doing an exam or a quiz, because if it starts getting jittery, that you lose the Wi-Fi connectivity, that there's some kind of delay, the clock is still ticking. It doesn't know that you have poor Wi-Fi. Once you begin, the time goes on. So you need to make sure that you have good Wi-Fi connectivity. Best way to do that is make sure you're closest to, not the modem, it's actually the router. The modem is actually inside the computer. The router is where you see that machine that's in your house that has all those lights blinking and stuff. That's where the router is. You want to be as close as you could to that. Okay. Also, being very mindful of internet traffic, especially taking an online exam while your sister is doing homework online, your mother's watching Netflix with the Wi-Fi on there, your brother Johnny is playing his video games using the Wi-Fi, because that's going to also cut into a possibility that it can slow down your time for your exam. So just be mindful of that, okay? Also, I want to mention too that the only 2 browsers that you can use for Blackboard, for that matter, is Firefox or Google Chrome. Okay, I know some of you Apple users want to use Safari, or Microsoft people want to use Internet Explorer Edge, I think it's called. You can't. Okay, only use Firefox or Google Chrome. I know Apple users and Microsoft users can download either one of these or both of them onto their computer. You need to use those. You can't use Safari. or Internet Explorer Edge. Again, they've had some problems where there's delays, and also those pictures that are embedded on exams. There's been issues where those pictures were not shown on there. So Firefox or Google Chrome are the only two. Just download it and you'll be fine. Okay. You also need a webcam. Okay, all these exams are going to be proctored through a service called ProctorU, and there needs to be a webcam on there with a microphone. That microphone has to be on. I've had situations where students had a microphone, and I could hear someone giving answers to the exam. Surprisingly, I could tell you stories about people trying to cheat and stuff. It's you laugh at some of them. It's like so obvious. But I need a microphone, working microphone here. Okay, so again, for use of this measure learning, they used to call it ProctorU, and in some cases they're still calling it ProctorU. I'll refer to it as ProctorU. And also, if you want to have any kind of virtual appointment using Zoom, again, you need to have a webcam. Okay, the webcam must be positioned at the top of your screen. Okay, Proctor exams require this, and we'll tell you to do that. Don't put it on the sides of your computer screen. Once you connect to ProctorU, you'll need to pan the webcam. You're going to need to take that webcam and you need to turn it around 360 degrees so that I have an understanding of what is in front of you, what is on the side of you, that there's no papers or diagrams that are posted to your walls. You'll also need to tilt down the webcam to show either side of your keyboard so that there's no books or diagrams or notes on either side. Okay, we've got to make sure that all students are treated the same way so that if you have to do it, your classmate's going to have to do the same thing too. Okay. All exams will be video recorded. Eyes should be directed at the monitor at all times. There's no exam or quiz that is quote unquote open book. And it will lock down your computer so that you can't visit other websites. If you try to do that, I will be alerted. So don't try to do that. Okay. Again, you'll have to pan that webcam before you do question one, just one time. It only takes like 5-10 seconds to do. Just make sure that I can see everything in your area so that there's no books, notes, or diagrams around in your area. Okay. You also need to have a photo ID, again, which I know you do have, the school ID or government issued photo ID, like your passport or your driver's license or something. And I mention that because you need to have that. If you have it in the car, then don't take the test yet. Don't push start yet. Go get it in the car, bring it over here because the ProctorU is going to ask you to do that. Okay. Whoops. Sorry. Hold on. I don't know what I did over here. Okay. All right. So there I am. The photo ID. Okay. Make sure. Okay. So again, you're going to need a photo ID. Okay. Which is going to be your school ID or your government issued photo ID, which is a passport or a driver's license or something of the like. But what I'm saying is you got to have this before you start the exam. So if it's in your car, in your glove compartment or whatever, your purse, and you have it at Aunt Tilda's house or whichever, you can't take this test without this. So make sure you have that with you when you take the test. Okay, the full name must match what CCM has on their course roster. And you need to display the photo ID on your screen. ProctorU will prompt you to do that. Make sure, because I get alerted about this too, make sure that it's not expired. That kind of tells me that you're up with that you didn't change your name and so forth. So make sure it's not expired. Okay. Okay. So some information about the course. So where are we on the syllabus? We are on page, and I know I kind of jumped around a little bit. Not jumped around, but I went fast forward a little bit. We're on page 15. So the course information. So there's your prerequisites on there, certain English courses, certain math courses, and so forth. The class dates, again, it's going to be 7 weeks, so it's January 18th, day one, and then the due date for your final exam is March 8th. Okay, it is 4 credits, lecture exams, quizzes, discussion boards. The days vary, the times vary. You'll see all that in the course calendar. The lab component, however, will always be on Saturdays. I believe there's 7 Saturdays of this course. It'll go from 8 o'clock in the morning to 2 o'clock in the afternoon, so 6 hours, and it's in room SH 102. Okay, it'll be upstairs. Okay. Again, my name's on there. Your lab professor will be Professor Sabori. Excuse me. Office hours, really, I don't have office hours. Just email me, let me know that you want to. And a lot of times, if you email me with a question, I can answer it pretty swiftly through an email. However, if there's times where you want to, I may have to draw a picture or something like that, we could easily do a Zoom session. It's just sometimes it might take a little bit longer. I might not be able to do it tonight, but I might be able to do it tomorrow afternoon. But an email, I could do it like pretty fast. So it's not that I'm shying away from Zoom sessions. I definitely do Zoom sessions, but I think sometimes it's faster through an email. But if we can't, no problem. I will do a Zoom session with you. I have no problems at all doing that. Okay. If you need to get in touch with me, if you can't get in touch with me for whatever reason, it's rare. Well, not rare. It's never happened to me before. You could always call up the faculty offices and they'll get in touch with me. Maybe there's something wrong with Blackboard. I don't know. But yeah, they'll get in touch with me. There's an email address. Don't use until after the semester is over. We're going to do all of our contact through Blackboard. But when the semester's over, then you won't have access to the Blackboard anymore. So you can email me through escamara@yahoo.com. But the best way, the only way for you to really contact me and for me to contact you with emails, I gotta condition you to be looking at this area, is something called the inbox, which is the Blackboard mail, BB mail, not the CCM mail that I have been sending you prior to the day one. The problem is when I send things out that way, things get lost because everything else that the college is sending you is also going to be through that. So now you got to try and shuffle through, where's the stuff from Dr. Gamaro that he emailed me? And I'm going to have to do the same thing too. If you're going to email me, I'm not saying I'm not going to look at it or if it's going to get lost, but there's going to be a delay because I get a lot of stuff from the school, what's happening on Mondays, where I get meetings from that I got to go to. And then if I'm teaching, let's say 2 of these courses, I don't know which one it's from. Is it from this course? Is it from someone else's? So it gets a lot of confusion with that, and it will surely delay things. So the best way, the only way, is going to be in Blackboard mail, the BB mail, which I will show you when I give you a rendition or a little tour of Blackboard. Okay. Again, just a reiteration, really straight to the point. You need 4 requirements for the lecture portion: a digital device, which is a desktop, laptop, and Chromebook, can do everything. Smartphones, do not use them for exams or quizzes. Okay. You do need internet access. Firefox or Google Chrome are the only 2 browsers. Do not use Safari. Do not use Internet Explorer Edge or Internet Explorer. Those will not work, especially for the exams. There's been some issues with Blackboard itself, but Firefox or Google Chrome are the only 2. Okay, you need a webcam with a working microphone, and you need a photo ID. Those are the 4 requirements for at least the lecture portion, which is all online. So let me talk a little bit about the Measure Learning, which is ProctorU. Okay, it's a 24-hour, 7-day online proctoring service that CCM has chosen to use. Okay, some of you may have already used this before. Okay, and you may have already registered, and you're good as gold over there. If not, you're going to have to go to measurelearning.com and you need to register. Okay, my suggestion is to do that today. You're going to need to download something called ProctorU extension, and it goes into your Firefox browser or your Google Chrome. So my suggestion is to do that today. Okay, you can only use the Firefox or Google Chrome. It'll ask you to download and install something called a ProctorU extension to your browser, and you need to do that. Okay, once you do it, it's on. You don't have to worry about it anymore. However, if you use a different computer for an exam, let's say for lecture exam number 1, you want to use this computer and you put the ProctorU extension on there, super. You want to use the same computer for lecture exam number 2, fine. You don't need to reinstall this ProctorU extension. But if your computer breaks down and you got to use mom's computer, you got to then download the ProctorU extension onto that computer as well, okay? The instructions you'll see will be found in the Blackboard course. I'll explain where that is when I give you a tour. Now, if you've been using ProctorU in the past, okay, starting spring of 2023, i.e. this semester, CCM has now required that the fees for it, okay, is now the responsibility of the student, not CCM's. So my understanding is that this fee should have been paid upon registering for the course, okay? My understanding is that each exam that uses ProctorU is about $6 to $8, okay? So we're looking at 4 exams in lecture in A&P2. The fee should be anywhere from $24 to $32. I don't know exactly the price, but it should be around there. My suggestion is just to pay that and just move forward, okay? If you choose not to use ProctorU, and that's something as an option, you don't want to pay the cost, that's fine. I'm just letting you know what CCM has told me. Then you can use any other authorized testing site. However, that testing site, wherever that is, I don't know where it is. You're going to have to just Google that up. That testing site will most likely have a fee to it, and it's going to be much higher than what ProctorU is. So, and again, if you do that, I need to be notified 10 business days prior to that exam, because now I got to give them the password and so forth to that exam so that they can actually do it. And I don't want any kind of delays in there. And if there's any out-of-pocket fees for that authorized testing site, again, it's the responsibility for the student to do that. Okay, so just giving you a heads up, that's a new thing moving forward, and this semester that the online testing fees are now the responsibility of the student as per CCM. Okay. The textbooks, there's really only the textbook that you got to worry about is the anatomy and physiology. The author is Marib, the 11th edition, which is 2019, is the latest edition. I haven't heard of a new edition coming out. Let's face it, there's not much of a difference with different editions. I mean, anatomy, the humerus bone has always been the humerus bone for the past 200 years. But physiology, I wouldn't say has changed, but what was once an itch is now an allergy. Or you know, that kind of thing. So we learned a little bit more. I don't know how much we learned more from 2019 to 2023. Diseases, yes, COVID and so forth. That's my suggestion on that. And to tell you the truth, if you want to get an earlier edition, you know, you could do that too. If you had this course before and you had the 10th edition, just use that. But I believe that the bookstore has a package deal for you. And keep in mind, this book takes care of A&P1 and A&P2. So, so anyway, you know, that's a little bit about that.